Humans have a wider range of emotions such as anxiety, fear, anger, confusion. Sometimes these emotions can cause tension or conflict in anticipation of an event that's going to happen in the future, such as like a performance, preparing for marriage, raising children, finances, work, etc. One of the healthy ways to deal with this tension or conflict is by anticipation. In other words, by planning ahead, organizing, trying to work proactively to prepare for an event that could happen down the road. Anticipation is one of the 6 healthy mechanisms that one can use psychologically. I've talked about others already in previous videos, including videos in altruism, asceticism. Some other healthy defense mechanisms include sublimation, suppression, and humor. So anticipating an event can actually cause changes in one's brain. For example, if the event is considered to be a threat, that may activate like the amygdala or the emotional center of the brain. And also they find that in anticipation of threat events, the frontal lobe of the brain is also activated. And the frontal lobe is used for like planning, organization, decision making. And so one really can use the frontal part of their brain to calm down the more deeper structures of the brain, such as the emotional center and the amygdala. A couple of scenarios that this can be particularly important is, for example, a couple looking to get married. There's a lot of things that can happen down the road, such as financial, family-oriented, raising children. So these are important to discuss ahead of time early on in the relationship to help prepare for what could happen down the road. It might help prevent some of the tension or conflict that would happen, and because sometimes in the moment people tend to get reactive, do things that we regret, maybe act impulsively, and so it could help prevent stuff like that from happening. Another example could be a public presentation. Many people give it in school and work. This can be an anxiety-provoking event, and so preparing for the talk, practicing it, repeating it over and over can help ease the tension when actually giving the talk. There's also a medication called propranolol that I've talked about in previous videos that can help if there's a lot of physical symptoms of anxiety before giving a public speech like that. I think also when there's this anxiety or tension about an event that could happen in the future, it's much healthier and easier to plan and prepare for it. For example, that your body may be going through a little bit of stress during this time, like this fight or flight mode. And that stress, if it's just a little bit of, it can be encouraging, motivating, it can actually be healthy. But if that stress lasts for too long, or if it's too intense or severe, that can lead to medical problems such as hypertension, heart disease. It can also lead to psychiatric problems like clinical depression or anxiety. So it's important to try to address that conflict or tension in a healthy and meaningful way. Anticipating is what Jesus also taught the Pharisees in the Gospel of Luke. In the Gospel of Luke, Christ tells them, "For which of you intending to build a tower does not sit down first and count the cost, whether he has enough to finish it, lest after he has laid the foundation, all who see it begin to mock him, saying, 'This man began to build and was not able to finish.' Or what king going to make war against another king does not sit down first and consider whether he is able with 1,000 to meet him who comes against him with 20,000? Or else, while the other is still a great way off, he sends a delegation and asks conditions of peace." So that's from Luke chapter 14, verses 28 through 33. Saint Cyril of Alexandria is a Christian pope in the 5th century that contemplates on this. He takes this in a spiritual outlook, saying that to progress and prepare for the spiritual life, one needs to anticipate what's going to happen. The devil is going to try to tempt people. The devil is going to try to make people drift away from God for various pursuits. Maybe it's pleasures, maybe it's lusts. So the person in their spiritual life needs to prepare for the devil trying to attack people like this. Maybe psychologically, we also need to prepare and anticipate what will happen in our lives so that we can help plan accordingly and help prevent, unfortunate events or the unforeseen from happening.